Presentation. And Wolfgang, you are doing a great work, not only in Austria, all around. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Erwin, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Welcome this morning today. I would like just to give you some ideas of the work we do, some perspectives for a really sustainable land use in the middle of the landscape. So just to introduce myself in some few words, I'm head of department vegetable growing at the Horticultural College and Research Institute in Vienna, in Schönbrunn. I do this work for 28 years. I'm a little bit shocked too, but it is as it is. And I have an experimental station in Lower Austria, which is 100 kilometers west of Vienna in the pre-alpine climate zone. And this is our experimental station. Whatever I speak about, it's about our trials, about our research projects in this location, and it is 1.5 hectare open field and 1,300 square meters of protected area of greenhouses of polytunnels. And this is my team there. I always show them because no one should expect this is just me who stands here and speak about what I do. You know, it is what we are doing, and this is a very interesting work we are engaged in. But I also am head and founder of the City Farm Augarten in Vienna, which is a garden of biodiversity in the very center of this city, where people come to our place, children and grown-ups, and they experience what it means just to watch food growing. They can experiment what the soil is working like and how a plant grows, and they can get in touch with the history of food. Normally we just buy them in the supermarket, but we don't know how it was produced. And this is a very fundamental experience to know what food is growing like, because this is a kind of personal education if you experience that as a child or in some phases of your life. So this is the best place we can work. The boys choir, the Wiener Sängerknaben are our neighbors, and I don't know if our salad is growing better, but it is. We are listening to the singing trainings every day, and it's very really in the center of the city. If you want to watch our YouTube channel, this is just a small advertising input here. Yeah. But now let's come to the point. We are used to a kind of agriculture that is. We have just seen it now in this very interesting video, and this is almost the same here in some different pictures, where farmers think in hectares, not in hours when they go over their fields. And we are used to these big machines, and we call them modern agriculture. We call this style of working, of production, this agro-industrial style, we call it the Green Revolution. But the landscape has its signs in it. If you watch it, we have this soil erosion, we have the loss of biodiversity, all this. You know them, all of them, but if you watch it, then you experience that it is real. It's a reality on our acres, on our fields. So this is not just in the modern agriculture, open field agriculture. It's also about the intensive growing methods in greenhouses, where we produce our fresh crops, our fresh vegetable crops, and we are used to these hectare big greenhouses, and they are not just heated. This is the heating system. They are also artificial lighted, and we never thought this could be possible, that we give artificial light to hectares of crops. when I was a student, which is some years ago, then it was impossible to think about that you could artificial light tomato crops or cucumbers, but it really, it became reality. So we call it digital farming, and we are very proud of all of our technical systems when we have this soilless cultures, crops in our greenhouses, computer directed systems that almost automatically produce our daily food. This is the system we got used to, or many people don't know even when they go to the supermarket, because they don't know the history of their daily food. But in the backstage area, this is the system we work on. And beside these big greenhouses, there are hectares of simple structures, of simple polytunnels, and they are empty half of the year. So we got used to a system that seems to be large-scaled, but if you watch, it is half empty. And this is a little bit to think about. We don't really use the resources we have. We just build bigger ones, just beside the existing ones. And we got used to this system. Let me show you a little cartoon I found in a newspaper some years ago. It's German, but if you translate it, it is the question, what is a farmer? A farmer is someone who is supposed to feed the world and in return gets money to feed his family. So that's exactly the economical situation in our daily agricultural production. It's hard to make your life if you're a farmer nowadays. But we got used to it. That's our system as we live it every day. That reminds me of a poem which is now almost 100 years old. You know the Austrian poet Rainer Maria Rilke, and he wrote a poem about a panther in a zoo. His gaze against the sweeping of the bars has grown so weary, it can't hold no more. To him there seem to be 1,000 bars, and behind those 1,000 bars, no world. And sometimes that reminds me of the situation in modern agriculture, if you are from the perspective of a farmer. And I'm convinced it is a little bit to be a panther in this system if you are a farmer nowadays, locked up behind 1,000 bars. And it's not about being a partner, free partner in an open-minded society. So that's the situation we got used to. It's our daily food production system where we are all part of it. We all go around, we all go to the supermarket, buy our food. We are part of this system. And the question is that the perspective for a really sustainable future? And we are convinced it could be different. And that's the reason why we have principles in our research work, in our experimental station, in our research institute. We try to really carefully use all these resources, especially the energy. And how could it be ecologically efficient, more efficient to work in our daily production? And there are big words, but we use them very fast, but it's not. We should be careful with these words of sustainability, for instance. But it's all about circulation systems in our production. We got used to this one-way highways of putting input into the farm and then getting out as much as possible. But if we want to be really sustainable, we have to think in circles. And that's not possible without the circle of the year, the seasonality. A year-round production where you can use the second half part of the year. And this is a special issue on its own. I have to be careful because otherwise I drop into it and I will tell you 1 hour about winter vegetable crops and about winter fresh production. But this is not the issue now. It's just to mention it that we could be very productive if we use all all seasons of the year in a very, very abundant and rich way. We are able to do this because of the diversity of plants we have as our partners, not just as our production material. So if we could focus on new systems instead of single problems, that would broaden our perspective, our view, and that would lead us to a more holistic system of agriculture. This is a big issue in our work. We would like to support small-scale farms to be to live a good life as a farmer, not as a panther, as I showed you in the pictures before. So, and we should communicate, and this is the special issue of this block, of this workshop, first part of this morning, to look at the communication. If we are not able to communicate about agriculture, we will lose the rest of our society, and it's a big part of our society, and we should not lose them. We should go hand in hand to communicate, to exchange ourselves for the benefit of both parts, for us as a farmers and also for the consumers. So we should be really in touch together, and that's the reason why I founded this city farm, because we want to be part of our society, not just an outsider. So this could be the way we produce our fresh fruit every day. We could produce our food in gardens, not just in agricultural production systems, as I showed you in the beginning. It could be a garden where we grow our daily food. And it should be a garden, because it should be an ecologic, stable system where the food is, the produced food is part of it. And this is no new idea, because generations of market farmers worked this way, and they did it for centuries, but we lost many of the knowledge from them. For instance, these French maraîchers who managed to supply a million people city of Paris in the second half of the 19th century. And it was so an abundant system that they were able to export produce to Great Britain, because they had more than enough to feed this large city. And this could be an example, this could be an inspiration of our food supplying system for the future. So there are examples all over the world. Maybe some of you know Elliot Coleman from the United States, from the very northern part of the country, and he wrote this Winter Harvest Handbook, and he founded, together with his daughter now, this not small-scale farm, 4-season farm. It's less than 1 hectare, but 8 people, up to 8 people live from this small-scale farm. It's their working place. And the system is so abundant that they have a good life. They, together with their consumers who buy their produce. And Elliot visited us in Schönbrunn almost 10 years ago, and all our center, our hall was filled with people, because everyone was interested to meet him. And he explained about his hand devices, and he showed us a little bit about his philosophy and how he works. And it was really very exciting. And also, maybe you know Jean-Martin Fortier, who is one of the key farmers in Canada, who practices for 20 or 30 years. The system that you can make a good living out of a very small-scale farm. And this diversity and this abundant yield feeds not only you, but also the people you are partners of. And he also visited Schönbrunn some years ago, and again, our hall was full of people, and half of these people, they were young people. So it's really, it's part of the future to inspire young people to become a farmer again, and to think about a new way of growing for feeding our society. This is the farm from Elliot, from Jean-Martin Fortier, and this is also very small scaled. This is just two examples how it could work, and we have these examples here in this room too, where Alfred sits in this place of the room too. But let me tell you about the principles of these small-scaled market gardens. They work seasonal. They work biodiverse, organic. They are very productive, but in the same time they have these low input systems. They don't need much input from outside. It's a circle, and they work very close to the consumers. They are in daily touch with them, inspired in both directions. And that's really, this word efficient is a good characteristic of their farms. Efficient means low input and maximum output. And not just to be productive, that's not enough. Because if you put big amounts of energy and resources into the system and then get out quite a lot, this is not really efficient. So it's about a balance between input and output in our systems. So let's think about coming back to a good old simplicity. Old doesn't mean that it was always good in former times. I don't mean this, because sometimes it was no good life in former times to be a farmer. But if we could use these very ecological and biological principles, they are really working for ages, then we could find agriculture could find back to an agriculture in human scale. So market gardens are very small, just maybe some 1,000 square meters, half an hectare. But they are plot structures, they have their surroundings, they have their ecological materials, they are parts of the farm. They have the hedges, as we already have seen, or they're extensive places, and they have their plots where they are intensively used. It's about vegetable fresh production, but also about fruits and small animals, about honey and so on. And they are so compactly, so clever designed that you don't lose time for big distances, and they avoid inefficient downtime. So let me give some example from the German-speaking part. For instance, this German farmer who grows his food together with his wife on a small scale, 2,500 square meters, and they are professional farmers, and they make a good living from this very small place. Or even more radically away, Curtis Stone in British Columbia, who has nothing on his own. He doesn't own any square meter of land on his own. But he works in gardens in his neighborhood. He just takes here some 200 square meters and in the neighbor garden of 300 square meters, and altogether it's 1,300 square meters of vegetable plots in 5 gardens. And he has created this small plot-intensive farming system, and he makes his living with a good revenue from this land. And that's an important point, that you don't have to exploit the soil and yourself to be a good farmer. But there are also market farms in Austria. I recently started a winter project in Tyrol, in the western part of Austria. And I met some people I didn't know before. For instance, Hannes, who has his 2,000 square meters in the Inn Valley in Tyrol. Just beside Swarovski, you may know this company with the crystals. And he grows his own, and he makes his living with this 2,000 square meters for himself and for his family. So we started a research project this year, an EIP Agri research project. How could market gardens strengthen the Austrian fresh vegetable production? And this is a very exciting project where our 6 farms all over the rather eastern parts, southern parts of Austria work together with scientific partners to get more of the data. How could this small-scaled system, how productive could it be if you really use the system as it works? And Alfred is part of this project, and also Johannes, and I'm very glad that you are here again, so I can show some pictures about our project. This is part of the project at Zinsenhof, where we have started to make very, very intensive small plot trial, and we grow it very densely, and it's really abundant. We had 2 floodings the last weeks, so I don't show the pictures about that, but I show a picture of this system as we try to get data, how productive it could be. So let me come back at the end to this cartoon. We have to edit it, we have to revise it. It's not the right definition to be a farmer. I would like to correct it. A farmer is someone who is able to change the world and starts with himself and his market garden. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we should give time for questions for Wolfgang and for Andreas. Are there any questions? Feel free. Alfred, you must speak.
Yeah, I think that there's a very nice analogy between the broken frame that you have showed with the evolution and where we should go back with these market gardens. So at least try to give as much as possible productivity for at least the vegetable side, and we should consume more vegetable. So we need much more production in vegetables. So now in Austria we have a 58% or something like that self-sustainability. So what we can grow, and the rest is imported. So we need much more, and then we even have to raise the consumption of vegetable to a healthier system. And there's a very nice research has taken place in the USA where they said to fight diabetes 2, the disease with people, you can either do it the classical way with medication, or you can inform people which type of food they should consume, and so have fresh organic vegetable, for example. And then the costs is $1 at the raising awareness and grow and consume fresh organic vegetable, compared to $6 so it's 6 times more expensive to do the same with the classical medication treatment than it is to change the habitat and consume fresh vegetable. So what they said is it could be even for free. So when the government pays for the food and provides it to the people for free, it would be even less expensive than if they keep on with the health system that they do now. So it's really the future. Thank you.